The views expressed by the host of this podcast are not opinion-based or for entertainment purposes. They are actually facts and truth, no matter if other people like it or not. It is the Detroit sports truth, and nothing can ever stop it from being correct.
Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics. I'm Taylor Phillips, and welcome to episode 196 of the Detroit Sports Truth on Spreaker. Please share this podcast on all social media networks, and thanks very much. I'm with my co-host, Ed Smith. Thanks so much for being on here as always. How are you?
Doing fine. It's a pleasure to join you once again. And, for once, we're actually going to be doing a lot of Red Wings heavy related topics. So it's interesting to see how we take things from here. But I'm ready. Hope you are as well.
I am ready as well. Starting off with center Justin Abdelkader and his hit on Florida Panthers center Alexsander Barkov. That was in a 3-0 win on Monday against the Florida Panthers, the first time the Red Wings actually beat them at the Joe since April 1st of 2012. But it was a vicious hit to the head of Alexander Barkov. And Barkov appeared to be injured. Now, some said it might have been a dirty hit, but nobody looked at it from the war room because the league and the NHL Department of Player Safety thought it was a clean hit. I'm not getting any news about Justin Abdelkader's hit, whether he is getting a hearing or not. He's not. He's not getting a hearing, therefore he's not getting a suspension. Now, I'm not sure why, because to me that looked like an injurious hit to the head of Barkov from Abdelkader. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, it's going to be quite interesting look to tell from looking at the tape, but whenever nowadays, not just NHL, but all forms of sports and whatnot, whenever you see a player suffer a serious hit or injury of some sort to the head, all concern must be taken as a precaution. Looking at the hit itself, if you see it real time, it's definitely it's hard hitting for sure. Seeing the player get up and walk off on his own power, maybe that led to the higher-ups in the NHL to believe a hearing was not necessary. It's a definite hard hit. I wouldn't necessarily think it was a cheap shot by any means. I don't think Abdelkader has had a history of sorts of delivering those type of hits to defenseless players. It's a judgment call in some instances. It could be. I could definitely understand it from the Florida perspective of, hey, why you gotta go up high against a player like that? There was no need. But I think with Abdelkader, he was trying to get him in the chest, and the way the momentum of him shifted as he was going up, it just happened to hit him in the head. I think Abdelkader was just trying to send a message with that hit, but unfortunately, it just landed the wrong way. But then again, Abdelkader has had a couple of hits. There's been a couple instances, at least. I know it sounds like I'm backtracking, but there's been at least a couple instances that Abdelkader has had at least an occurrence on the ice where he landed a massive hit on somebody. I mean, there was one time where he landed apparently a hit on Tony Lidman, and that gave him a 5-minute misconduct penalty. So,
and a 1-game suspension. That was in 2013 in the first round against the Anaheim Ducks when the Red Wings were in the Western Conference in their last season in the Western Conference.
Exactly. So I can kind of see from Florida's perspective, because they believe Abdelkader has a record on him, so that should have them at least lead the NHL doing some sort of inquiry on what was the just cause of whatnot. Was there any need to have any disciplinary actions, especially if you're from Florida's perspective, you think there should be. But as it turns out, nothing happened. It really neither side is wrong in this equation. I do hope that Barkov is all right. Hope this wasn't too serious of a hit. But this will be something to look out for the next time these two teams play each other. Will anybody from Florida's side now go after Abdelkader or go after a teammate of Abdelkader's in retaliation? That's going to be the one thing to look out for, too, once we see these two match up again down the road.
Yeah, and I hope Barkov is okay, too. And luckily for Abdelkader, he didn't get suspended for it. That's the bottom line. Moving on to... yeah, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to mention, I don't want to, some say, should a big deal be mentioned about this? I'm not entirely sure. When the league themselves really don't think it's a big deal. In some instances, they're right. Other cases, they're not. But this one sort of falls in the middle.
Yeah, I believe so. Now we move on to their penalty killing unit, which is performing a lot better. In their last 10 games, they have been 84.6%, 6 of 39. That's they've only allowed 6 goals in 39 penalty killing opportunities. So that's 33 of 39, which is 84.6%. They killed an entire 5-on-3 Senators power play on Wednesday in the 3-1 win over Ottawa at Joe Louis Arena. And then their last penalty killing opportunity was bad, though, as Jonathan Ericsson tried to clear the puck, but it came right to Erik Karlsson, who passed the puck to Mike Hoffman, and Hoffman ripped a slap shot tipped by Zach Smith and into the net to put the Senators on the board and ruined the bid for what would have been Petr Mrazek's second shutout in a row. Jonathan Ericsson is continuing his stupidity, I must say, and Jeff Blashill should not have put Ericsson on the ice on that penalty kill. I blame that on both Ericsson and Blashill, 50-50 split. But the Red Wings penalty killing unit, still, with or without Ericsson, has been playing better. But I thought Ericsson's bad clearing attempt could have cost the Wings the game. Because that could have given the Senators the momentum.
Yeah, but the way Mrazek was going, I don't think he was going to have a full mental meltdown and let Ottawa back in that easily.
No.
But definitely something that needs definitive work on for sure. From that aspect, but overall, very nice to see this part of the game increase, of their game improve, I should say. Shows that their defense is not all that bad. Especially when you have the right players out there. That's definitely for sure, like you mentioned before, that it's on the coach to put the right players, or at least the right players as good as possible, in those respective situations. So, a slight lapse there by having Ericsson out there, but overall, like you mentioned, the numbers speak for themselves. There's a combination of having the right players out there, but also, not to mention, your goalie is on fire, as what we've seen with Mrazek.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get to more of Mrazek here in a little bit, but there's been news brewing out there that the Red Wings are looking at Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman Fedor Tyutin, Tyutin, who is likely to be dealt at the February 29th trade deadline or buy it. Tyutin at 32 years old still has 2 years left in his 6-year contract with $27 million with a $4.5 million average annual cap hit. But this season he has 0 goals and 2 assists through 43 games this season with the Blue Jackets and averaging 17.47 total ice time per game. those are the lowest total stats of his career in a single season. The reason for this is because the reason general manager Ken Holland is looking into him is because Mike Green is out with a groin injury. Nicholas Kronwall is out with a knee injury. They're both still out with injuries, but Kronwall could return on Valentine's Day against the Bruins on Sunday at 3:30 on NBC. And Danny DeKeyser has a bruised knee after taking a hard shot from Senators' new defenseman Dion Phaneuf, who was recently traded from the Toronto Maple Leafs. General manager Ken Holland says DeKeyser was all good for Friday's game against the Colorado Avalanche, 7:30 on Friday on Fox Sports Detroit. So that's a bit of a break for the Red Wings. As they could have lost DeKeyser, but it was only a bruise. So he would have been day-to-day. He was listed as day-to-day, but Ken Holland says DeKeyser's ready to go on Friday. But back to Fedor Tyutin, Ed. Could he help the Wings at all, or no?
I really don't think so. I see this, especially when you mentioned the injuries, I see this more being a depth chart move more than anything. They just need a body out there. But if you're Ken Holland, could you just aim high? I mean, you're looking at this rankings. This guy he's only place where he's not sub 300. Well, two instances. One is PIM, his PIM stats, where he's 278. Other than that, I'm seeing rankings like for defensemen. Defensemen don't really score that much anyway, unless you want the top caliber. But still, 623rd in goals with 0, 555th in assists with 2. Which of course translates to 615th in points with 2. I just don't see him being that much of a productive force for Detroit, especially like you mentioned, the numbers you mentioned earlier. He's not a Shea Weber or Ryan Suter or even a PK Subban, but he's got to be. If you're gonna aim for a defenseman to help you while you're going through some slight injury trouble, can you aim a little bit higher? Just I don't know, look for a Hedman or a McDonough, something like that. Giordano perhaps.
The Calgary Flames.
You might have to give up a prospect or two, but what's been one of the problems that this team needed to address for the past several years is a defenseman, right? So you couldn't find a way to get a suitable one through the trade deadline, or if you want to try to tough it out and try again before swinging and missing once more in the offseason. I understand what Ken Holland's trying to do, but the execution is just bad here, potentially.
Yep. And it's probably not a good idea for the Wings to get Fedor Tyutin, who especially has very little or no production whatsoever in terms of offense, and and he's not going to help much defensively from a defensive perspective or point of view. The Red Wings play the Avalanche at home on Friday at 7:30 on Fox Sports Detroit, and then on Sunday they are nationally televised on NBC when they welcome in Tuukka Rask and the Boston Bruins at 3:30, and then on Monday they traveled to the New York Islanders at 1 on President's Day on Fox Sports Detroit. Looking at the standings here, the Red Wings, the last I saw them, they were in the wild card standings, like a couple of points ahead of the Devils. Now that they're back in second place in the Atlantic Division, a tie for second place with the Boston Bruins at 64 points. The Red Wings own the tiebreaker with a 28-18-8 record ahead of the Bruins 29-19-6 record. And they both have 54 points, 54, and they both have 54 games to play, and they both have played 54 games thus far. So they both have 28 games left.
It's especially looking up of course what we see in the schedule and the upcoming schedule, what we're currently going on in the standings. It's definitely a pivotal game this Sunday against Boston. Not just from the national perspective, since it's going to be televised on NBC, but also like you mentioned, it's against a division opponent who's tied with you for second place. It'll be a nice way to stay further and further away from that wild card bubble. They are right now, but it's only a mere 2 points. Whereas Tampa and Pittsburgh are right behind, the likes of Detroit and Boston. So it'll be very imperative to get as many 2 points in games as possible. I'm not saying, I could see them maybe splitting. If they were to split these 2 games right here this weekend, I would rather they get the win against Boston because, like I said, that's a divisional opponent. You want to have that tiebreaker edge ahead of them. So you have to do whatever they can to get that. But, Tuukka Rask is going to be a much different test than some of these other goalies they've been facing. So they're going to need to back up Mrazek. It can't be all on his shoulders, rather, to try to steal one, basically stand on his head for all 60 minutes and then some. The offense, the players are going to have to step up, too, and give him some help in this. But he's going to need all the help he can get as well. So it's about time somebody will help him out for a change.
The offense has been struggling until their last 3 games when they scored 11 goals total in their last 3 games. A 5-1 win over the Islanders, a 3-0 win over the Panthers, and a 3-1 win over the Senators, including an empty net goal.
And before that, they managed to score 3 goals in their first of 2 recent matchups with the Panthers, which is unfortunate that they gave up 6, but because what? It was because of who was starting in goalie, Jimmy Howard.
Coward.
There you go.
So that's 14-4.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Them out of reach, but, right, it is. They've gotten 14 goals in their past 4 games. The offense has stepped up, but, you got to see more of it, and you're going to have a good test on Sunday against the Bruins. So
that is correct. The Red Wings, Bruins, and Islanders are all tied up with 64 points, a 3-way tie. Looking at the conference standings here, it is a 3-way tie for 4th place with 64 points. The Islanders are in first place in the tiebreaker with a 29-18-6 record. And as I mentioned, the Red Wings 28-18-8, the Bruins 29-19-6. It's going to be an interesting late portion of the weekend after their Friday game against the Avalanche. The Avs, Colorado, are 28-25-4. They are 7th place in the Western Conference. And in the wild card, they are in first place in the wild card, leading the Nashville Predators, who are 25-21-8 with 58 points. That's going to be another tough matchup because the Avalanche, compared to last year, are improving this season. They still have Varlamov in net. They still have Nathan McCrimmon on the ice. They got a powerful offense, and of course their head coach Patrick Waugh, former goaltender, very motivational head coach for the Avalanche. It's going to be a good one, a rivalry renewed.
Yeah, it's not your vintage, like, say, 96, 97, 98, 99. It's not like 96 to 2002 with that type of, heated up display. But I should expect a good game, something closer to what we saw. Hopefully a little bit better than the display that was put up by Colorado when the teams played during the playoffs in 2008. In any other division, especially when you go by point standings, the Avalanche will be very much in the thick of things. But because of where they're placed, when they're basically in a murderer's row, that central division. You got Chicago, Dallas, and St. Louis with commanding point totals. So Colorado's a little bit left out in the cold. But any other division, they probably have a good shot as anyway to not just hit a possible wild card, but just overall good playoff spot. Period. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. With it being, because for some reason the Wings have had a little bit of mixed bag, so to speak, with not doing so well on home ice. So a part of me expects them to split these two games coming up. So if it were to be the one that they would lose, I would rather be Colorado than it was to Boston, like the reasons I pointed out earlier. But it's an interesting game, and it'd be intrigued to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Now the last topic we want to get to in terms of the Red Wings is the goaltender comparison between Petr Mrazek and Braden Holtby of the Washington Capitals. It also involves Corey Crawford of the Chicago Blackhawks. Prashanth Iyer on Twitter at Iyer Prashanth, IYER_Prashanth. That's his Twitter handle. Tweets out the comparisons in terms of statistics and records and games played. First off, Prashanth Iyer tweets, Holtby has played in 43 games to Mrazek's 37. Holtby is 34-5-3, and Mrazek is now 21-10-4. From the start of the season to Thanksgiving, look at how the top contenders fared. This is going to be a long list here, so get ready. Holtby, shots faced, 434. Goals against average, 195. Save percentage, 924. Adjusted save percentage, 923. 5 on 5 save percentage, 0.93. HD save percentage, whatever that stands for, 831. Mrazek, shots faced, 393. Goals against average, 221. Save percentage, 931. Adjusted save percentage, 925. 5 on 5 save percentage, 947. HD save percentage, 823. I'm trying to come up with what it stands for here. I'm going to look it up here real quick. Oh, there we go. Anyway, continuing on here, Corey Crawford, shots faced, 476, goals against average, 257, save percentage, 912, adjusted save percentage, 911, 5 on 5, 922, HD, 827. Corey Schneider, the New Jersey Devils, shots faced, 481, goals against, 205, save percentage, 927, adjusted, 927, 5 on 5, 935, HD, 884. And finally, Roberto Luongo of the Florida Panthers, shots faced, 540, goals against average, 249, save percentage, 922, adjusted, 923, 5 on 5, 939, and HD, 849. Now, look at November 25th to the present. Holtby, shots faced, 769. Goals against average, .217. Save percentage, .930. Adjusted, .928. 5-on-5, .939. HD, .858. Mrazek, shots faced, .647. Goals against average, .181. Save percentage, .935. Adjusted, .935. 5-on-5, .953. HD, .884. Crawford, shots faced, .896. Goals against average, .183. Pretty close. Save percentage, .942. Adjusted, .939. 5-on-5, .944. HD, .898. Corey Schneider, shots faced, .829. Goals against average, .198. Save percentage, .931. Adjusted, .931. 5-on-5, .941. HD, .886. Luongo, shots faced, .714. Goals against average, .195. Save percentage, .933. Adjusted, .925. 5-on-5, .940. And HD, .884. Now go full season with it. Holtby, shots faced, 1,203. Goals against average, .208. Save percentage, .928. Adjusted save percentage, .936. 5-on-5, .939. HD, .848. Mrazek, 1,040. Goals against average, .195. Save percentage, .934. Adjusted, .951. 5-on-5, .953. And HD, save percentage, .864. Crawford, 1,372. Goals against average, .210. Save percentage, .932. Adjusted, .937. 5-on-5, .944. And HD, .873. Schneider, 1,310. Goals against average, flat, 2.00. Save percentage, .930. Adjusted, .939. 5-on-5, .941. And HD, .885. And finally, Luongo, shots faced, 1,254. Goals against average, .217. Save percentage, .928. Adjusted save percentage, .940. 5-on-5, .940. And finally, HD, .867. Iyer tweets out, the only edge Holtby owned over the others was goals against average, which was largely system and team dependent. However, at this point, you can still make the argument that Mrazek had seen a lighter workload than his counterparts. There's nothing wrong with Holtby's numbers. It's just Crawford seems to be stealing the show with Mrazek in hot pursuit. But full season, though, Ed, Mrazek leads the league right now in goals against average and save percentages. All save percentages except for HD save percentage. That includes save percentage total, adjusted save percentage, and 5-on-5. Mrazek owns almost every category and only trails Holtby up by 163 shots faced. Why does that matter? Well, Mrazek would have to allow 18 goals on those 163 shots faced, 889 save percentage, for his save percentage to drop to Holtby's 928 save percentage. Mrazek has seen 141 fewer 5-on-5 shots. He would have he would have to play at an .851 save percentage for his next 141 5-on-5 shots to drop to Holtby's 5-on-5 save percentage. Yes, you're reading that right. Mrazek would have to play 10% below his season average for 141 shots to drop to Holtby's numbers. So you tell me if Holtby should have. So you tell me if Holtby should have. So you tell me if Holtby should have this Vezina locked up. And yes, this is a race for the Vezina trophy. I personally think it's between Mrazek, Crawford, and Schneider. Ultimately, Holtby's going to win because he'll likely break the wins and record and may even top 50 wins on this season. That is as of now, Ed. And his numbers certainly aren't bad. They are top 5 almost across the board. I just hate that a guy like Mrazek is going to get overlooked due to a perceived lighter workload. Goals saved above average per 60 minutes played. Mrazek, 0.504. Crawford, 0.461. Schneider, 0.380. Luongo, 0.356. And Holtby, 0.322. What this shows is how much better each goaltender has been in comparison to league average. Mrazek tops the chart again. Voline1 tweets to him, but I wonder how much a Vezina trophy adds to the value of a goalie's next contract. And Prashanth Iyer quotes, excellent point. Does Wings management want him to win it? Well, of course. And then he goes up. And then today, he just shows the charts between Mrazek and Howard. It's becoming more of a landslide. So
it's basically laughable. But if you look at the chart, it shows not just good consistency. Well, consistency both ways. You know, good for Mrazek, horrible for Howard. But just how much of a downward trend that Howard is in, has been on, and how Mrazek's been playing quite to not just good standards, but surpassing that. He's been very more than adequate. Some might even say he's probably overachieving a little, but still, that's good for us.
Yep.
And I would have to say, you know, after not just hearing you break down, but also looking at the numbers and the pictures itself, you know, I was one of the first people. I informed you about this about last week or so. You know, when even before Prashanth gave this breakdown, I said, "You think Mrazek should be a candidate for the Vezina?" He responded saying, "I'm paraphrasing." But he basically agreed, saying, yes, I believe he should. Definitely, these numbers are backing it up. Holtby will definitely get a lot of consideration because, again, I think it comes down to the fact that he's playing on a much better team. And when you're playing on a much better team, you get that kind of attention and recognition. You know, clearly, he's going to have these phases. He has a team that not only has a better offense, but much better defense to what Detroit has. But in a way, surprisingly though, he's getting much more activity, so to speak, compared to what the likes of Mrazek and Howard, well, Mrazek at least, has been getting. But again, that early period from early October to around Thanksgiving, that was mostly because Mrazek was not getting nearly as many starts as he is getting now. Now, when you adjusted it, add on the starts that we have seen since Thanksgiving, and now curve it around and even it out completely. The activity, quote unquote, it may be a little bit low from Mrazek's side, but almost practically every other category out there, and including, I'm looking at the major ones here, like such as what I call the full strength advantage, which is 5-on-5 save percentage. best everybody in that list. Holtby, Crawford, Schneider, Luongo, Mrazek beats them all quite handedly. So those are things you got to take into consideration. Also, I would say compared in a way, somewhat of an MVP vote. You got to determine the goaltender's value to their team. And if Petr Mrazek is not the starting goaltender and Jimmy Howard or somebody else is, and Mrazek is not on the team at all, and somebody's got to be trading the goaltender spot with Howard, where in the world do you think this team might be right now? In the absolute crapper. Okay, Petr Mrazek is one of the big reasons why the Red Wings is having this playoff push right now. Because there have been times where they have needed him to step up or basically carry the game on his shoulders for them, and he's done that and then some. He's proven it right now. He could have had another second consecutive shutout again, in as many games the other night, if it not for a boneheaded play by the defense. So
by Jonathan Ericsson.
Exactly. So Mrazek should definitely be getting some good consideration. Right. Just specifically one player. But back to my point, as it were, Mrazek definitely should be getting some considerations, if not votes, so to speak, for the Vezina award. Oh yeah. He definitely deserves some form of acknowledgement, and I definitely believe he should be one of the top candidates for sure. We were talking about one of our previous episodes. Hey, we need to start some type of new campaign, hashtag, whatever you want to call it.
Mrazek
little did
for
we know.
Vezina.
There it is. Little do we know it will be for our own Red Wings. So, just about after every game, if and when Mrazek puts up an impressive display, we need to retweet it, but also quote it and place our own little hashtag on it. Mrazek for Vezina. Sure, it might not exactly tear the house down, but at least showcase that, hey, we see what Peter's doing out there, how he's doing whatever he can to keep this team in line, in tune, and on pace for another playoff spot. And he's performing very, very well as a result. So, yeah, give him some recognition that he deserves and show a little support for him and for this movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to hashtag this after the show. Hashtag Mrazek, the number 4, Vezina. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter at EdSmith313. Let's move on to the Pistons now, shall we?
Left sideline, 3, and he answers.
The Pistons lost to the Denver Nuggets 103-92, and now they're dropped to 9th place at 27-27 in the conference standings, the Eastern Conference standings. They have another 100-plus points allowed game again, and they come up with only 92. Andre Drummond had a horrible night, obviously, unlike his double-double night games, of course, which he's really good. But there was an article from DetroitBadBoys.com headlining notes, "Is Andre Drummond soft?" If we look at it here, maybe it's in terms of his free throw shooting. Maybe it's just Drummond seems to have fallen apart.
It could be a number of things also, whereas another aspect could be abandoning the post at times to help with perimeter and shooting offense, which is leaving things open for more putbacks, offensive rebounds, and second chance points opportunities. So that could be another reason why we're seeing some sort of dwindling on Drummond's production defensively on that part.
Yep. So anyway, that was on a night when Chauncey Billups had his number 1 jersey retired to the Raptors at the Palace of Auburn Hills. It's just apparently not not a good showing by the Pistons. It's just.
I mean, you could kind of have the excuse by saying, they were shorthanded. Because obviously Kentavious Caldwell was out with an injury, but also before the game that Reggie Jackson and Ersan Ilyasova were dealing with respective illnesses and would not be available for that game. Also, so that's 3 of your usual 5 starters out for that game. So, and 2 of those were announced on very little notice. But still, that's no excuse. You gotta have. That's the reason why we have practice. That's why you have the players that you signed as your backups, because you're gonna expect some of them to step up at a moment's notice and help carry the load for your team. That did not happen. It was a bit of a close game throughout in terms of points differentials at the end of quarters. But that fourth quarter, they just could not handle things. They let things fell apart too easily. Give credit, though, to Will Barton coming off the bench and having a very, very, very productive fourth quarter. He scored 15 of his 20 points total in that fourth. And also as well as the bench overall from Denver, outscoring Detroit by 21 points total. Jusuf Nurkic, who I think has got a bit of a future on him. He had 16 points and 11 rebounds. Those are the types of numbers you want to see from an up-and-comer of your own. Everything else was just not there for Detroit. It clearly showed, not just in the bench department, but also, like you mentioned, with Andre Drummond not having a very good night. Anthony Tolliver, you're seeing other guys like Anthony Tolliver not really produce like the way that you expect them to do.
Until late in the fourth quarter. Exactly.
Even Stanley Johnson, he had 11 points, but it was 0 for 4 from 3. Just not a very good productive night overall, and it sucks to see, because this is not what you wanted to be at heading into the All-Star break. You've lost 3 in a row. You've lost 6 of your last 10, and now if the postseason started today, you'd be on the outside looking in, because you goofed around and just had too many mishaps and had a terrible job closing games and not having productive wins as of late. So I don't know who that falls on. Does that fall on the defense? Does that fall on the players? Does that fall on execution? Does that even fall on the head coach, Stan Van Gundy? It's a mixture of everything. So whatever that's bothering them, plaguing them, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, wherever the hell it is, they're going to have to get it straight.
I got stats for them, too.
Because if any more of this crap keeps going on in the second half, come on, you're going to risk missing out on the playoffs. And this team has been built so far. The way we've seen them perform earlier this year, they're much better than that. They deserve to have to reach the playoffs this year the way they've been playing in spurts.
Yeah, and in that game, the Pistons only had 21 assists. Marcus Morris, Stanley Johnson, and Darren Hilliard combined to dish out 17 of those 21. Also, the Pistons turned over the ball 14 times, which the Nuggets converted into 18 critical points, and the Nuggets out-rebounded the Pistons 47-42. Andre Drummond was shooting just 7 of 22 from the field, not from the free throw line, from the field. Yep. Stanley Johnson was 5 of 16 with 4 of the 14 turnovers. Tolliver was 0 for 4 before he hit those 2 threes in the clutch. Drummond still finished with 15 points and 17 rebounds, 5 blocks and 3 steals, but he could have done a lot better from the field than just 7 of 22.
But hey, at least he was perfect from the free throw line. He only had 1 attempt the whole night, so you got to take your small victories there. Yeah, so you got to take your small victories there. And that's another thing.
Wow.
They could not get to the free throw line at all. They were only 6 of 7. They only had 7 shots. Weird. Okay? Denver tripled that. And then some with 24 attempts. So that's another thing. This team has got to find better ways to get to the free throw line. And no, I'm not talking hacker drumming strategy.
Right. Aaron Baines only came up with 10 points and 7 boards, which is typically mediocre. Off the bench in 19 minutes, hitting 5 of 7. It's very above average, but not very many shots taken. Brandon Jennings with 16 points, hitting 4 of 8 triples. 2 late ones that gave the Pistons fleeting hopes of a miracle finish, according to Keith Langlois of Pistons.com. But I commented on that Patchwork Pistons minus 3 stars come up short on Mr. Big Shot's Big Night article by Langlois. Of course we missed 3 stars, 2 of them to illness, Reggie and Ersan, both to illness, and 1 to an injury, KCP. But let's not keep making excuses and blaming luck on every loss, guys. Our defense, as usual, was bad. It gave up 100-plus points again like it usually does, and that's unacceptable. Our offense came up with 92, which isn't terrible, but still isn't good in some games either, may I add. Defense is the name of the game, and it's still not there, especially not from opposing three-point range. We keep leaving opposing players wide open from there, and they keep going in. That can't happen. But lately, there have been more points scored from the paint instead of outside. From outside. Reggie and Ersan will be back Friday, and KCP will be back on the 19th. But right now, we have to focus on playing harder defense than this, especially from both areas, from the outside and from in the paint. So defensively, we have two areas to work on, not just one. So, the paint, you pointed that out while I pointed to the outside. Yeah, we both nailed them on the head a few times.
Absolutely.
So the Pistons will enter the All-Star break coming off a loss, a terrible loss, as we would like to call it. As we mentioned, they are in 9th place at 27-27 ahead of the Washington Wizards. And then on next Friday night, the 19th, it's going to be a long NBA All-Star break. They are off until Friday, February the 19th, when they travel to our nation's capital and play John Wall and the Washington Wizards at Verizon Center at 7 p.m. on Fox Sports Detroit. The Pistons, speak of the devil, are ahead of the Wizards by 2.5 games. The Wizards are 23-28 in 10th place in the East. And then on the 21st, they play the Pelicans at the Palace at 3:30 on FSD. Pelicans...
hosting Ryan Anderson, potentially.
Yep.
If he's still on the team by then.
Anthony Davis, too. 20-33 are the Pelicans in 12th place in the West. So... their next big matchup is against the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland at Quicken Loans Arena on Monday, February 22nd at 7 on FSD. So that's it for what's coming up recently after the NBA All-Star game.
One quick note to mention in terms of anything Pistons related for the All-Star break. Don't forget, Andre Drummond will be in the All-Star in the Slam Dunk contest this Saturday night on TNT. It's become such a yearly annual tradition for the All-Star break, All-Star weekend, and whatnot. that they've dedicated a whole night to it. You got the skills contest, the shooting display, the 3-point contest, and the skills competition, like I mentioned, and of course the main event, basically the slam dunk contest. So be sure to check out on your local TNT networks, or find a good stream wherever you can, and cheer on Andre. Hope he does a good enough job. Just be thankful it's a slam dunk contest and not a free throw shooting contest.
That is correct. So with that being said, we transition to college basketball.
Valentine for the win!
The Spartans trailed by as many as 18 in the first half. They come back. They tied up at 69 or something like that, and then they have a 4-point lead, and they let it slip away. And then when it was tied in the final seconds, Michigan State was on the run, and Tom Izzo did not call a timeout when MSU had 2 timeouts left, and that's why he blamed himself for not calling a timeout when there were just dying seconds left in regulation in a tie game. For the 3rd time in his career, he takes he takes full responsibility for that. And then secondly, at the end of overtime, when it was tied at 81, there was a moving screen which Denzel Valentine went through, which was a big mistake, and he got called for a foul, which gave one of the Purdue Boilermakers 2 shots at the free throw line. He hit the first to give the Boilermakers the lead, 82-81. Then he missed the second, but Purdue had the rebound. But when Purdue had the ball trying to wind down the clock, Michigan State did not foul.
Now that is the occasion where you would want to see a foul, but yet oddly they did not follow. They didn't want to go through opposite day for some reason.
Yeah, so that's 3 mistakes, meaning 3 strikes, and the Spartans lose the game. And those are 3 mistakes that you can't make. Not calling a timeout and trying to be too aggressive and getting called for a foul through a moving screen when your teammates could have helped you, which they didn't. That's the other half of the mistake on their part. And Denzel Valentine should have just at least went around the players and guarded the screener.
He's a senior. He should absolutely know better in terms of what to do, how to properly play defensively in that situation, in those final moments. Understand aggressiveness, but you also got to be smart. That was not smart, and of course, it cost his team. I will say though, I got to give credit to Raphael Davis. He showcased great skill. Hit a number of three-pointers all night, as well as, of course, like you mentioned, the free throws that helped seal it. But again, another occasion. This is back. All right, like I said, about the 3rd or 4th time this season, MSU's in a tight game, and thanks to their own action or inaction, they let a game like this slip away from them. And these could come back to help cost you and haunt you when it's all said and done in terms of Big Ten standings, because they're on such a roll, winning 4 straight. They pounded Michigan, and now because of their own mistakes, their own futility in a way, them getting in their own ways, getting in their own way, stopping their own path. They're now back out of the top 4, and now Michigan, and we'll get to them in a brief second, they're now tied with Purdue for the top 4 spot.
Ta-da!
And so if I'm going to use the same analogy like I did with the Pistons. If the Big Ten conference tournament started today, MSU, they'll be a little bit on the deep end of things because they would not have had that first round bye like the top 4 seeds potentially would have.
Yep. The standings tell us so. So Michigan State will return home against the Indiana Hoosiers Sunday at 1 on CBS. The same day the NBA All-Star game takes place later that night on TNT. For the Michigan Wolverines...
For 3, yes, sir!
They survive a comeback in Minneapolis against the Minnesota Golden Gophers and win 82-74 at Target Center. Ed, did you get a chance to catch that game?
Got a chance to catch late. I saw how close the score was getting. I was like, holy crap, you're going to follow up the stinker of MSU with another goof up of a game. But they handled their business. Derek Walton, somebody finally stepped up. Luckily, that would be Derek Walton with his 26 points. Hitting key free throws, getting good defensive stops late from everybody. Hitting your free throws, like I mentioned before. It was very nice to see a win like this and keep you, in terms of relative math, somewhat a chance in the Big Ten standings race. You're only 2 games. Since, like I mentioned, you're now tied with Purdue at the 4th spot. And in a way, you're essentially tied for second because this whole thing it's log-jogged. It's convoluted at the top. Because now Maryland and what we saw tonight with the Hoosiers and the Hawkeyes, Indiana and Iowa, those 3 teams are tied at 10-2 for the overall conference lead. So, when you're just only a game, or in the case of Michigan, just 2 games behind, and you already got a win against Maryland, and you got a game coming up against Purdue, in terms of mathematically speaking, you're still in the thick of it in terms of wanting to make good ground in this log-jammed Big Ten race.
Absolutely. The Michigan Wolverines will play Purdue at Chrysler Center Saturday at 2 on ESPN2. We're looking for a big matchup against the Purdue Boilermakers who upset the Michigan State Spartans. What do the Wolverines need to do to prevent an omen?
Contain Rafael Davis. Michigan State did not do that, so you must learn from what they didn't do. We all know what their strengths are. We all know what their weaknesses are. Purdue took full advantage of those in the first matchup. Hopefully, like I said, maybe. And again, this is on the home crowd too. They need to show up in drones and showcase support. Purdue should be the favorites in this one. This is a potential trap game, especially now in light of the victory over Michigan State. Maybe you would see a motivated Michigan team. Even though both teams are tied, it's clear that Purdue is the better team. It's hopefully, and maybe if you're Purdue, you saw what Michigan did to Maryland, so maybe you would potentially, hopefully, take them seriously. I predict Michigan will hopefully put up a better showing than they did against Michigan State. But in the end, I do see Purdue coming away with a victory. I think, Purdue is just going to follow up on the formula that they did the first time around, and utilize a little bit more Rafael Davis and just take away. Study definitely what Michigan State did and take away Michigan's chances for opportune, high quality 3-point shooting. Damn it!
All right. Well, that's gonna cover all college basketball, unless you have other things to mention. So, So why don't we go ahead and move on to the Lions?
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Just a second here. All right, the New York Giants have hired former Lions general manager Martin Mayhew to the front office. And just some news to pass along to you guys. The Lions, of course, have done a lot better without Martin Mayhew. There we go. This one from Bleacher Report. Joe Pantorno, a featured columnist. We all know Martin Mayhew, who recently spent 8 seasons with the Lions as their general manager from 2008 to 2015. He was fired in November of last year, just 3 months ago, after the Lions started 1-7. That also Tom Luan was fired at the same time. So Mayhew will work with assistant general manager Kevin Abrams on aspects such as player contract negotiations, salary cap issues, and CBA compliance, along with special assignments from general manager Jerry Reese. The Giants were in
some of those Giants were. I'm sorry, I was going to say some of those activities. I'm sure he was a bit familiar with and of, because I'm sure he did something similar to that nature when he was the general manager in Detroit. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, the Giants were in search of a new member of their front office after Matt Harris joined the Lions as their vice president of football administration of football operations, according to Rich Eisen of the NFL Network. Now, speaking of the Lions, they signed linebacker Jerry Franklin, who was an undrafted free agent out of the Arkansas Razorbacks, from the Arkansas Razorbacks back in 2012. He originally signed on with the Denver Broncos and spent a few months there before he was waived coming out of the preseason. Since then, the Broncos went on to win Super Bowl 50, and since then, Franklin has played for a number of NFL teams, including the Panthers, the NFC champion Panthers, Cowboys, Bears, and Chiefs, and most recently for the New Orleans Saints. In 2014, Franklin appeared in 7 games for the Chiefs and Saints and recorded 4 tackles. That's from NFLTradeRumors.co. No author name, no editor name though, but you can follow NFL Trade Rumors on Twitter at NFL_Trade_Rumors. I think he would be in the backup role if he were to play in a regular season game. He would make the roster.
Yeah, maybe. And this is definitely for depth chart perspective. Like what I would consider the potential Red Wings move that Kim Howland could make regarding their defenseman issue. Because Tahir Whitehead and Travis Lewis, they will be scheduled to become free agents next month, and you're not so sure of whether or not they'll bring back Stephen Tulloch next year, since he was expected to have a $7.3 million cap hit on the team's cap space in 2016. So maybe they're just doing this for depth purposes, because while you still have Josh Burns, Brandon Copeland, Kyle Van Noy, and of course DeAndre Levy under contract, maybe you want to get this guy for depth purposes and just part ways with Tulloch, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea also, because you couple that with Calvin Johnson's retirement, that opens up cap money, that opens up space. So maybe you can pull that together, and I know I'm shooting fish in a barrel, but hey, what the hell? Try to take a shot, and like I mentioned before, in the Von Miller sweepstakes. So that could be part of their underlying plan. I'm not one for conspiracy theories too much, but that wouldn't be a bad angle to shoot at here.
Absolutely not. So the Lions got that signing done. So we covered that. So 2 more topics to cover. Let's go to the Tigers.
That one is long gone.
Tigers minor league pitcher Michael Fulmer has become a top 50 prospect, according to Keith Law. This is from Bless You Boys, Rob Rogacki of Bless You Boys. Follow him on Twitter at BYBRob. Fulmer lands at number 48 on Law's top prospect rankings, his highest rating of the year. That's the short pitch of the headline there. Stats here. That's Derek Hills. Fulmer was at number 53 overall by MLB.com. Scout put him at number 59. KATOH projection model had him 84th. Baseball Prospectus at 89. Baseball America has yet to release their top 100 rankings this year. That would be a good 5-question segment there, since the original 5th one was already wiped off accidentally. But anyway, also absent from all. Oh wait, there were absent Tiger players, Tiger prospects that from all top 100 lists this year. From blessyouboys.com. Right-hander Beau Burrows, a borderline top 100 prospect and easily the second best arm in the Tigers system. He was ranked 98. And Derek Hill, an outfielder, ranked 85 by Keith Law from last year. He hit .238, .305, and .314 at the West Michigan Whitecaps in Grand Rapids. The number 1 ranking belonged to Corey Seager, shortstop of the Los Angeles Dodgers, followed by Byron Buxton, the center fielder of the Minnesota Twins. And that says it all right there. So, just more news to pass along to you guys. Michael Fulmer, Tigers may call him up soon. Tigers may call him up sometime whenever a starting pitcher or a relief pitcher gets injured or something, or gets suspended, whatever the case may be, or a paternity list. other things like that. But Michael Fulmer has a pretty good chance of getting called up sometime at some point this upcoming season, Major League Baseball. So, with that out of the way, one last topic. Detroit Sports 105.1 WMGC FM, Ed, has announced a new programming lineup. First off, starting next Tuesday, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., it'll be Sean, Maz, and Mark. Sean Belegian, Tom Mazaway, and Mark Fellhauer. Tom Mazaway is going to have his hands full all day, every weekday. And then from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Ryan and Enrico. And then from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., Matt Derry and Drew Sharp, the plagiarist.
So basically what they're trying to do is they're saying it but not saying it, because if you look at the time slots, those are the slots with the top, three of the big shows for 97.1 schedule. Stoney and Bill with Sarah at 6 to 10.
Which they don't mention sports at all. By the way, the new 6 to 10 morning show with Sean, Maz, and Mark that wipes out the Mike and Mike show from the Detroit Sports 105.1 lineup, which you can now get only on its HD2 channel on TuneIn Radio.
Yeah.
And on DetroitSports1051.com.
Of course. And 10 for 2, they're trying to compete with Carson Anderson, with Ryan Enrico. And then, I guess, they're trying to challenge also Glennie and Foster from 2 to 6 with, coincidentally, their former update man, Matt Derry, with the big name, quote-unquote, Drew Sharp, a.k.a. Mr. Plagiarist. So I don't see this working out. I still expect to see low ratings for this dwindling experiment of attempting a sports talk show in Detroit. But it was nice to pass along the news, at least. I just don't see any of this making a bit of a difference in 4, 5, or even 2 months from now.
Yeah, Don Theodore, a co-owner of 107.9 CDY, commented on the link of that article that I posted on my timeline. He said, let me dig mine out here. Let me surf my timeline here and see if I can find it. I'm going to find it somewhere. He said, reshuffling chairs on the Titanic.
Basically.
And it was true. I believed him. So a shout-out goes to Dom Theodore of 107.9 CDY, a co-owner, also co-owned by Jen Theodore. I'll give her a shout-out, too, as well. So anyway, I thought I would pass along the news to you, the listeners, and tell you that their reshuffling programming on 105.1 will never work at any cost. He'll never get the station anywhere. Nice try, Dave Shore, but you miserably failed, buddy. So with that out of the way, let's go to 5 questions.
It's time for 5 questions with Taylor the Gator Phillips.
Question number 1. Should Justin Abdelkader have been suspended for his hit on Alexsander Barkov? Or if not, should he have been fined?
Suspension, I don't know. You gotta look at a multitude of things. The nature of the hit, Does he have a unrepentant history, or basically the repeat offender law, if there is such a rule, so to speak? It's a multitude of things. I probably would have gone more towards the fine, if anything, because again, I think it's a little bit inconclusive on the hit. To see, hey, does it warrant a suspension? Plus, you already mentioned there will be no hearing on the matter. But to make things as close to fair as possible, I probably would have gone with a fine at least.
Yeah, I think if you look at the hit on Tony Lidman, it was a hit to the head from back in 2013, 3 years ago in the playoffs, the first round of the playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs. He got a 1-game suspension, and with that hit on Barkov, I see Abdelkader as now a repeat offender. I would suspend him like 2 or 3 games if I were the NHL and the Department of Player Safety. So if you're in the league's front office with the Department of Player Safety, you have to put business ahead. You have to put business ahead of everything else and stay on top of it. I thought the NHL dropped the ball on that one. But anyway,
fair point. It's a fair point.
Yep. Going on to question number 2.
Next question.
Can the Red Wings penalty killing unit be better off without Jonathan Ericsson?
Yes. That was clearly evident that you saw the other night against Ottawa. And one simple, short answer, yes, it can.
Yeah, he ruined the shutout for Petr Mrazek right there. What would have been a second consecutive shutout for Peter Pan Mrazek. I like to call him.
Next question.
Question number 3. Should the Wings try to get or pass on Fedor Tyutin? If they get him, should they give him more ice time? If they don't, should they go after Jack Johnson?
Hey, that's a name we haven't heard in a while. So yeah, what's wrong going after Jack Johnson? It's a much better player, all shapes, in all facets, in all forms. And it takes more than takes care of trying to find depth at that position for sure. So. Jack Johnson, I'll be in favor of, but if they go after this other guy, again, best of luck to you. I just don't see it working out.
Next question.
Question number 4. Who may win the Vezina Trophy this year? Petr Mrazek, Braden Holtby, Corey Crawford, Corey Schneider, or Roberto Luongo?
The homer in me wants to say Mrazek. But I'm thinking it'll either be Holtby or Crawford. If I got to pick one, probably Holtby, because the way things are trending now, things hold up, especially if Washington keeps winning the way they are. Holtby will more than likely get it. Crawford probably gets second place. Mrazek's third. And Crawford does deserve some recognition, especially with the postseason that he had last year in helping Chicago win its 3rd cup in 6 years. So Crawford will get some consideration, as will Mrazek. But at the end of the day, I see this award going to Holtby. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep the trend, laying dormant. So let's just start as much as we can. Hashtag Mrazek for Vezina.
You never know.
Yeah.
Mrazek just might pull it out.
Next question.
Finally, question number 5. Where would you rank Michael Fulmer in your top 100?
A little bit lower, but right around where he's at. I'd definitely put him in the top 60, top 75. So I'll probably rank him a little bit, like say, anywhere between 55 and 58. That's where I would go.
I would rank him about 52, just to make it a little more fair, between 48 and 55 through 60. So that wraps up 5 questions. And for all the listeners and fans out there, if you want to answer those questions, just replay the episode and answer them in the comment bank below this episode. That wraps up episode 196 of the Detroit Sports Truth. Ed, thanks so much again for your help. I'll talk to you Monday at 12:30 a.m. for episode 197.
My pleasure, Taylor, and I'll see you then.
And for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. If there's anything you fans want more of or less of on our podcast, please let us know. We hope you all enjoy the All-Star break, and we hope to recap it along with Wings, Pistons, and other things. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Bon appétit.